Well, so it's just a little bit after 3 o'clock. I do want to make sure that I mention at the top that we are recording this session. So that means that if you, for whatever reason, need to stop off, you can access it. We'll post this online, so you'll be able to access it through our website. And if for whatever reason you're not comfortable being recorded, that's totally fine. Just I would recommend hopping off the call now. And once again, you can access the recording online starting next week. I imagine we'll have it on the website there. So it's just a little bit after 3, so to make sure we respect everybody's time, we're going to get started here. There we go. So first, want to just cover the schedule of events, the way how this meeting will work. We're going to go over some logistics in a minute here, and then we'll go through and do some introductions to let you know who's on the call from scholars in the media program. From there, we'll do a brief overview of scholars as a whole, and then a deeper dive into the Media Self and Society, or we call that the media program, as well as the program requirements. So what kinds of classes you'll be taking and what it specifically looks like to be a media student. And then we'll go open up into a question and answer session. We do have 3 current media students on the call with us, so we'll be able to answer your questions, both what it means, what it's like from a student perspective, as well as from a programmatic perspective. Oh my gosh, let's go. All right, so meeting logistics. If you haven't already done so, could you please turn off your audio as well as your video for this segment of the program? We know that a lot of people are having bandwidth issues right now with a lot of people on in the house. And so by limiting the number of audio streams and video streams we have, that makes it easier for everybody all around to access it. Next, if you have any questions throughout the program, we highly encourage you to use the chat box there. So you should be able to scroll down to the bottom of your screen and see the chat option. Maybe one of our students, if you want to type a hey in there, so it'll pop up for people. You can go ahead and type in your questions, comments, anything throughout the program, and we'll make sure to address them. So some we'll address in the moment, but we'll certainly address them towards the end in the question and answer section. And then finally, if you do have any private questions that you want to ask Allison or myself or anyone in the Scholars Program, we recommend that you email us those questions after the fact. So if you have a very specific, oh, I took such and such class, and what does this mean for, for that kind, those really individual questions, you can go ahead and email us. All right.
So hello, I'm Allison Burns. I'm the Program Director for Media Self and Society, and I want to take this opportunity to congratulate you on your admission to the University of Maryland and welcome you to this program. I know this past month for a lot of you as seniors has been full of some disappointments, and this crisis has been a setback for all of us. And I just wanted to take this opportunity for us to pause and to acknowledge and recognize all of the hard work that it took for you to get to your admissions at the University of Maryland, and let you know that you are welcomed and wanted in this program, and we are really looking forward to getting to know you and welcoming you to Maryland in the fall. So just a little bit about me. I was in your shoes a long time ago. I'm a 1993 University of Maryland graduate. I graduated with a double major in journalism and government and politics. And really, I worked in broadcast news ever since. I'm back at Maryland as an instructor in the College of Journalism and pursuing my PhD, studying ways to improve and expand journalism education. Prior to coming to Maryland, I worked mostly as a Washington correspondent for Cox Media Group's nationwide network of TV and radio stations, primarily doing live reports for the Fox affiliate in San Francisco and the CBS station in Seattle, covering Presidents Clinton, Bush, and Obama. I was there at the Supreme Court on the night of the Bush v. Gore decision. And I continue to work in news, freelancing occasionally for big occasions. You can see here is a shot that Kelly put in at the bottom of me covering the State of the Union address this year. On top of that, you can see a picture of me with my mom, Elizabeth, and 2 boys. I have a son, James, 14, who likes to play basketball, and Leo, 10. And they're running around the backyard as we speak, wrestling and tackling each other. I can see them out the window. But anyway, so this is my family, this is my job, and I'm really excited to get to know all of you. My primary role in the media program is to direct our curriculum, to teach and coordinate the classes, but really the most important part of the job to me is getting to know all of you and working as a mentor and a person to connect with on campus, whether it's helping you bounce back from a setback on campus or helping you as a reference for a job application or an internship application. That's what we're here for. And our fantastic program coordinator, Kelly Brower, is going to talk a little bit about her experience and her role.
So, hey y'all, my name is Kelly Brower, and as you heard, I'm the program coordinator for the Media Self and Society program. I also am a University of Maryland grad, a little bit more recently, and I was also in the College Park Scholars program. So I graduated in 2012. I was in the Life Science Scholars program, and my undergraduate degree is in Animal Sciences. So you can see I've made a little bit of a career change from there. And so I think that really allows me to bring a unique perspective to my job and to my work here with scholars, having been through the program as well. And I am a huge Scholars fan. I think it's an amazing program that you all have been accepted into. Since then, I've gone on and earned my master's degree in higher education and student affairs and really bring an academic background in living and learning community development, student support, and all of those aspects, housing and residence life. My role in media is primarily outside of the classroom. So I work very closely with Allison, but I focus on the co-curricular aspects of scholars. So once again, doing that student support, program administration, and things like planning field trips, building community, different kinds of events that we have throughout the semester. So that's my role. And we have 3 lovely students on the call. Do you all want to go ahead and introduce yourselves, please?
I can start. Hi, I'm Nina Alvarez. I'm from Waldorf, Maryland, and I'm a freshman communications major on the social influence track. And I'm also a double minor in rhetoric and philosophy. And of course, I'm in the Media Scholars program, but I'm also a part of C, which is the Student Entertainment Events here at the University of Maryland, and I'm a team leader for their marketing team.
And I'll go next. My name is Lauren Hamilton. I'm a sophomore scholar student, been in the media program for 2 years now. I'm a multi-platform journalism major and Spanish minor from Hanover, Maryland, so pretty close as well. And I'm pride myself on being really involved on campus, and I do a lot of things. I have several internships and jobs on campus, but I also am involved with the radio station and leadership councils and leadership activities, and I'm also a part of the Do Good Ambassadors program.
All right, my name is Kyle Russo. I'm from Mount Airy, Maryland, about an hour away. I'm a journalism major and a history minor. I am right now involved with Unwind magazine on campus, which is one of the many magazines and newspapers on campus. And last semester I was a part of Maryland Night Live, which is our version of Saturday Night Live, which is pretty cool.
Great, thank you very much. So I'm going to do a brief overview of College Park Scholars as a whole. If you haven't had a chance to go on to the Scholars website and watch the video that was filmed by our wonderful Executive Director, Marilee Lindemann, I highly recommend you do that. She goes much more in depth over Scholars as a whole and what the program is about and our role on campus and things like that. But just briefly, College Park Scholars is a program for first and second year students, so it is a 2-year program. And it's a little bit like a minor where you're taking some classes that help you make sense of all of the different general education classes that you're required to take. But really the best thing about Scholars is that it takes a large school like Maryland, where you've got thousands of students on campus, and it really makes it feel like a smaller school, where you have the opportunity to build really close relationships with your professors who really get to know you, to be in academically supportive classes, to really build close friendships and relationships with students that you live with, that you see in your residence hall, that you see in your classes, that are interested in similar things to you. And it really takes this massive campus that we're on, which has a lot of awesome opportunities and allows you to have that close connection as well. College Park Scholars has 12 different programs, of which you have been invited into the media program, and it really is your home base for living and learning on campus, particularly in your first year here on campus.
So Allison here to tell you a little bit more about the Media Self and Society program. A Media Self and Society program is really a dynamic program that works with, welcomes, and supports students of all majors. I got an email today from a student that said he was not a journalism major. Was I sure he should be in the Media Self and Society program? And my answer is absolutely. We have students of all different types of majors, and sometimes, we say it's fantastic to be a part of a scholars program that's really not so connected to your major, because it gives you more opportunities for interdisciplinary learning and support. So absolutely, we welcome and want students of all different majors. And our first goal really in this program is to make you feel like you are a part of a community of learners, a community of people who are not passive consumers of media, but we critically analyze current media-related developments, their impact on you and your family and on society at large. You know, tackling questions like, you know, what does it mean when we get more of our news on Facebook than from local newspapers? What are the ramifications for our communities? We really do try to spend a lot of time in small groups, getting to know each other and engaging in thoughtful discussions. You are empowered to share your views and to be active participants in our discussions in this class. And of course, as I mentioned, and I think the students will talk about also, really our goal is to have you critically analyze societal changes in this contemporary, fast-moving media landscape. I mean, we're even seeing right now such a dramatic increase in media usage and consumption in the wake of this coronavirus challenge. And so in our Zoom discussions now, we're doing a lot of analysis about that increased media usage and consumption. You know, one of the things we like to say about media scholars is that our media scholars are in the know. And if we could take a look at the next slide, Kelly, you can see a shot there of one of our small group discussions where we were kind of pouring through some local newspapers and looking at the impact of some of these really important local stories and what it means for our communities to have so many dramatic cuts in local news. We're also talking about larger picture historical trends and doing our best to keep up with the current developments in media. Kelly?
So as we mentioned earlier, College Park Scholars in Media in particular is really a program where we're focused on that experiential education and learning outside of the classroom. So we have a lot of field trips and things that we go on. So here you can see a picture of some students at the African American History and Culture. We also have visited the Holocaust Memorial Museum, Capitol Hill. We go to the Challenge course on campus, and once a year we go up to New York, where this year we were scheduled to go to the CNN, CBS, and NBC studios, as well as the 9/11 Memorial Museum, and we always do a Broadway show as well. So really, through media, try to make sure that the learning happens. You really build that community and do a lot of experiences in and outside of the classroom.
I think one of the fan favorites for the students is when we have guest speakers come to class. Last semester, we had really some fantastic true crime podcast producers come and talk about this new and growing genre of sort of old-timey radio. We've heard from several local journalists. In this picture here, you see one of our students with Washington Post columnist and ESPN commentator, Kevin Blackistone. And he came and spoke with us after our visit to the African American Museum of History and Culture to talk about protest and the role of media and protest and athletes. We've also had photojournalists come and talk with our students and give demonstrations on how to be excellent photographers. I'm hoping to have an advertising executive participate in one of our Zoom conferences in a couple of weeks to talk about how this coronavirus crisis has really affected marketing and advertising and business. And we have also heard from documentary filmmakers coming to our class. So it's really a diverse and interesting group of speakers who come and really enrich your freshman experience in Media Scholars. So here are a couple of pictures of how we are staying connected during this really challenging time. And you'll see there our weekly Zoom discussion with some of the freshman media scholars. And we've been tackling some really interesting topics and breaking into small groups. And also just being there as a support as students kind of adapt to this new way of online learning. And then on the right, we have a fantastic Instagram Instagram page, and you can see there I've got 9 videos, 9 of the 80 videos we have of freshmen documenting their quarantine experience. So I really encourage you to follow our Instagram account, get on and listen to some of these students and see their journals.
All right, so now we're going to dive a little bit into the nitty gritty of the program as a whole and what it looks like to be in the media program. So as you can see, so this is the 4 semesters that you would be in College Park Scholars in the media program, so 2 years. Each semester you take a class within media. So in your freshman year, first and second semester, you take a 1-credit colloquium class. And so that's the class that Allison's been talking about now, where they've been diving in and documenting their experience on making these videos and in the Zoom conversation. So that's 1 credit a week. There's typically about 80 or so students in the media program, and all 80 students are in that class. But once again, we take the time to really break into small groups and to make sure it doesn't feel like you're one in a mass of students. And we can ask our current students in a minute kind of what it's like to be in those colloquium classes. In your sophomore year, first semester sophomore year, you take a 3-credit media theory practice, media practice of theory class. And so that class is a little bit more academic in nature, but really diving into the how and the why, and how is media really going about, what's the theory behind the way that media is having its impact on our society as a whole and its media's place in our society. And then finally, you'll see in the 4th semester, your practicum. So that's your hands-on learning experience. Everybody's practicum is individual to them, and we encourage people to do practicums that are in their major. So we have lots of engineering students or business students or computer science students who are in media or in this program with us. So we encourage them to go do a practicum in their field, to not do a journalism practicum. But also, if you are a journalism student, then go work for the Diamondback, which is our on-campus newspaper, or have those experiences. It's really an opportunity for students to take the lessons they've learned in media, in Scholars, and apply them to their fields moving forward. Your practicum is completed in your sophomore year. So here we've placed it in the 4th semester, your 2nd semester sophomore year, but we encourage students to do it at any point in their sophomore year. So some students do it in the fall, the winter, the summer beforehand. There's a lot of flexibility within that. And I guess one thing to mention also, you'll see that we also ask students need to take English 101 as a part of the Scholars Program, but that's also a requirement to graduate. So everybody at the university needs to take English 101. If you have English 101 credit from high school, so you're coming in with AP credit, then that counts. You don't need to do anything special to have it count. If it's on your transcript, we'll count it for you. So if you're coming in with that AP credit, then you don't need to take English 101. Alternatively, if it makes more sense for you to take English 101 in your 2nd semester, your 3rd semester, you can do that as well. And then there are 2 scholars sections where we have scholar supporting courses. There's maybe 15 or so classes that really kind of get at that self and society aspect of the media self and society classes, some econ classes, some philosophy classes, and things like that. You can find a list of all those classes on our website. So if you go to the media page, the media self and society page on the Scholars website and scroll down, you can see where you can click on the citation requirements. That's where you can find the full list of classes there. But once again, those are very easily found. All right, so we've got some time here to really highlight our students. So I'm going to ask each of our students to briefly go through a little bit about why they chose Maryland and what has your experience been like in the media program. So do we want to maybe start with Nina?
Yeah, I can start. So as to why I chose Maryland, I find it really funny because I actually chose Maryland solely because of College Park Scholars. And initially it wasn't my first choice, but when I got my acceptance letter back and saw that I was admitted to Scholars, I was really intrigued. I didn't know anything about it. All I knew was like the honors college was for like engineering kids. And I was like, you have to get a perfect SAT score. And I was like, I can't get into that. So when I looked into Scholars, I was really like taken aback, and I was like, okay, I have to be involved now. And it was just like the deciding factor for me. But then in terms of what I like about UMD, I really enjoy the diversity in the academics. I take a whole bunch of classes that are really bizarre, but they cover a lot of gen ed, which I think is a really good thing to have, because I know my friends at other schools, they're like, yeah, I have to take this really boring class. But I'm like, oh, I'm taking a class that is the same exact thing, but it's more interesting. And there's just a huge range of classes that you can take here, and it's interesting, and it covers a broad range of majors, or at least UMD has a broad range of majors. And I have friends who are chemical engineering majors, journalism majors, gov and politics majors, architect majors, and it's just the diversity within the academics here and how they interconnect with each other is insane.
Thanks. Maybe we'll go with Lauren next.
Sure. I chose Maryland specifically because I'm a Maryland kid, so like growing up, we would always go to the university for like sporting events, or I did cheerleading when I was younger, so they had a lot of competitions at the Comcast Center, so or formerly Comcast Center, now Xfinity Center. So I was always here, and I just fell in love with it. So I knew I wanted to go here. But when I started learning more about what I was interested in terms of like professionally and academically, journalism really stood out as something that I wanted to pursue. And like knowing that I had one of the best journalism schools in the country right up the street was like really kind of sealed the deal for me. And then when I got my acceptance letter and it said College Park Scholars on it, I like immediately signed into the website and I was scrolling through all the program options and I knew media was my number one. I signed up that day that I got my letter for media, and I was so happy a few weeks later when I got the notification that I was accepted to my first choice program. But Maryland overall is just like stood out as an amazing provider of opportunities. And being here, I've been able to take advantage of so many of those opportunities and really just like make connections across the board that spans the gamut and like really is like impactful in my life and like has really changed, you know, a lot of things for me. So I would say Maryland has truly fulfilled all its promises in terms of opportunities and just the promise of good education as well.
All right, and Kyle.
Yeah, so pretty similar to both Nina and Lauren. I will say that in-state tuition was definitely a factor in choosing Maryland. But also, I'm also a journalism major, and I know that our school at Maryland is like one of the best in the country. And then being accepted into Scholars, everything kind of fell into place with that. So that's been really good. With Scholars specifically, I found it really enjoyable to have colloquium so far. I haven't been in the, I'm a sophomore next year, so I won't do that actual class until then. But the colloquium has been like a really good experience for me. It's nice to have that kind of class where once a week you come together and just talk about stuff, have discussions, and it's not as like intensive as an actual class, and it's very it's been a very good experience. And then with meeting people too, I know not all the people that, or most of the people I've met so far at the university have been in Scholars, not even in media. There's been ways to connect with other people from other Scholars programs, but that's been really good. And the university as a whole has been an amazing experience. There's a lot of different clubs you can join. The classes and my professors have been really good, and I've been able to create some really good connections with those people.
Great, thank you. So now we'll open it up to questions. I will say my computer is acting up and I don't have access to the chat. So I know we've asked people to put their questions in the chat there, but maybe somebody else on the presenting team can help navigate or facilitate this question and answer period.
Currently, there are no questions in the chat, but
all right. Well,
I know people have questions, so feel free to put them in the chat.
All right, well, while we're waiting for people to put questions in the chat, maybe students, can you all talk a little bit about what Kyle kind of started us on it, but what the colloquium is like? Maybe explain what colloquium is, it's a weird word, and talk a little bit about what it's like being in those first year classes, and then Lauren, maybe you can talk a little bit about the sophomore class once we get there.
Yeah, or,
you got
yeah, so colloquium is basically, you have it throughout the whole first year, and you have it once a week. I don't know if the days will be the same next year, but like I know this we had like on Wednesday, and now this semester we have it on Thursday. But it's for like an hour and 15 minutes, and you it's basically everyone in media is in the same room, and usually we'll start the class with like going over the news and like going over what we're going to talk about that day, like talk about current events. And then we'll like break into small groups and have discussions about a certain topic. And then we'll come back together in the end and get a more like bigger idea, have people contribute to the discussion. And we might have some projects to do during the class or after the class. So I know recently we had one where we had to create a TikTok that related to like a current event that we were passionate about. And all those types of things where we use media in really unique ways, and it's pretty cool.
And you want to talk about, let's see, do we have any questions coming in?
Yeah, we actually do have a few questions. So first, starting with Josephine, this is probably more for you both, Allison and Kelly, but so how will Scholars work if our first semester is online?
Great question. Allison, you want to take this?
Sure. I think it's really a little bit, we're preparing for the possibility of launching our classes online in the fall, but hoping, of course, that we will be able to meet all of you in person. I think if we do move into doing our Scholars program online, we will work incredibly hard to keep you as engaged as possible, to keep you feeling like you're still a part of a community, even though we are not all on campus together, and continuing to get to know each other on a one-on-one basis and interacting also kind of, I would say, in those small groups, challenging some of the big questions and issues of the day. I would say to you, as you're probably feeling uncertain and wondering and worried about what the fall will bring, if I were in your shoes, I would feel a lot better about entering that uncertain environment as part of the Scholars community and program than not, because you have sort of a built-in support system. And I'm wondering if anybody else might want to kind of comment on that idea of coming in with a support system.
Yeah, so one of the things, and then I'll let Marilee speak as well. We are very lucky to have the executive director of Scholars on the call with us today. One of the things that we've done throughout the media program that I definitely see us doing moving forward is first, Allison and I have been having one-on-one meetings with all of our students. We started that, of course, when we were able to meet in person, but it's been really helpful and really impactful to be able to continue those conversations now that we're all at a distance, and to really check in on people, just basically, hey, how are you doing as a person, but how are your classes going? Or were you thinking about the things that you're going to take next semester, or what kind of practicum are you thinking about, internships or studying abroad, or what that might look like moving forward. So really making sure that we're supporting students in their progress. And then also we have something called the Peer Mentor program that's in place, and that's in place across all of the Scholars programs, but that's where we pair up sophomore students with first-year students. And so I think that the Peer Mentor program will really take on an important role as students are supporting one another and really finding a chance to figure out what it means to be in Scholars. And honestly, we're all trying to figure this out together right now. So we don't necessarily have a complete answer for you right now, but I'll turn it over to Marilee.
Yeah, thanks, Kelly. That's exactly right. And I think Kelly and Allison have done a great job of talking about how they are already working, thinking, and preparing for this possibility. But let me just say, sort of from the broader standpoint of Scholars as a whole, that in addition to wonderful faculty and staff like Kelly and Allison at the individual program level, we also have a really robust central staff. And believe me, we are working diligently right now on contingency planning, even as we cross our fingers and hope, for the good of everybody, that we will be able to welcome you live and in person to our campus in the fall. That would certainly be our preference. But if that isn't possible, we are working really, really hard to assure that you have not exactly the same, but a comparable experience, both in the classroom and outside the classroom, of community and sort of co-curricular support. And that is, and our students, I think, can also speak to the kind of community experience and support that they get in Scholars. So fingers crossed, but also a lot of really careful, thoughtful planning is already underway for a range of different possibilities for the fall.
Great question. What else do we got, Lauren?
We have a few more questions. So I'm going to address one that was answered by Moya Malcolm, but just so people know, who are watching this recording. So Arturo asked, has our current COVID-19 situation changed how the decision will be made for students who self-nominated? And the answer to this question is that students who self-nominated they'll be updated after May 1st. And so that's the standard practice. So there'll be no change due to the COVID-19.
Great, thanks.
And then Jules asked, I guess this is more for students, did you find the size to be overwhelming? Of the university, did you find the size to be overwhelming?
So I guess I can answer this one. Personally, I thought that the size of it wasn't too overwhelming, but I also went into my college decisions wanting a larger size school. So maybe that's why I chose it. But overall, I think even my friends who wanted more of a smaller size school completely adjusted to the size of it perfectly fine. Yes, like some of your classes might be like a 10-minute walk, but honestly, that time flies by if you keep doing it.
Yeah, I would say, as mentioned before, like Scholars really makes the big school feel smaller in the sense that like you develop those connections with people that you see on a regular basis, as opposed to, you know, some of my peers who weren't in Scholars had a more difficult time in comparison to me making friends in their lecture halls or, you know, things of that nature, because the classes just aren't oriented, you know, to help you, you know, have conversations with people and make those connections, and like you're not in a living learning community, so it might be a bit harder, but since you do have the opportunity to be extended and offer into Scholars, I think it really helps with not feeling as overwhelmed. But college itself is a big adjustment. I know freshman year it was different, but I am so grateful for the incredible, you know, huge, large size we have at Maryland, because you never, like, there's never a shortage of people or experiences to kind of find yourself engaged with. So you can't be bored, I guess, at Maryland.
Yeah, just to reiterate everything, I also wanted a big school, so that's one of the reasons why I chose Maryland. But there's like so many ways that you can make it feel smaller. Scholars definitely is one. And as like you get farther along in your major, your classes will get smaller. There's like so many different clubs you can join to like really hone your interest. But I think it can be overwhelming at first, especially like even in Scholars, with like when all the programs come together and have like group events, like it feels huge. But then you break down into like your programs and you meet people in your residence halls, and there's just a lot of ways to make it feel less overwhelming.
Yeah. And so our next question is, could students who plan on commuting every day to school still attend College Park Scholars, even though it's a living learning program?
Yes, definitely. Great question. We definitely have commuters welcomed in a part of our Scholars Program, and perhaps maybe we'll see an uptick in people commuting next semester, but we really work very hard to make sure that we find ways to integrate those commuter students into the activities that are happening both within Media Scholars, but also Scholars Central does a really great job of connecting commuters from, say, the media program with the life sciences program and the science discovery in the universe program. So building a community in the commuters as well as a community of commuter students within media. So that's where things like the field trips, the challenge course, all of the different activities that we have outside of class, the peer mentors really come in to really build that sense of community for students who are not necessarily living on the floor. And we also have students who are part of the program who maybe live across campus because they want to be closer to Hillel. Maybe they're eating kosher and really are eating out of the Hillel, and it's easier for them to be, you know, housed in that situation. So that student is not a commuter, but they're also not living on the floor. So we really try to build a strong sense of community across all of our students, whether they're living on the, what are you all, on the 8th floor of Cumberland, 6th floor of Cumberland these days, or whether they're living somewhere else.
And it is important to mention too that our commuter students do have swipe access to Cumberland Hall on the first floor, and access to the scholar staff that is there. So you do kind of have a place to sort of settle in and call home other than the library.
Yes, and Allison and I both, and Marilee and the rest of the Scholar staff, all of our offices are in Cumberland Hall. So we're all on the first floor or the basement floor of Cumberland. All of the colloquium classes that we have are in the Cambridge Community Center, which is right outside of Cumberland Hall in the center of the quad there. If you hadn't guessed by now, Media Scholars is housed in Cumberland Hall, which is one of the halls down in the Cambridge community on North Campus. And so everything is really close nearby. So we're able to have really great relationships with students. You know, hey, I have a quick question. Sure, run on down. You know, we're really close to students in that aspect.
And I'm sorry, I skipped a question before, but this is from Olivia Marcus, and she asks, how does housing work within Media Scholars? Can we live with other scholars? And that kind of goes with a question that was recently asked by Sophia, and that said, if you want a room with someone, but they're not in the Scholars program, how does that work?
Great.
So I actually can, oh, sorry, Kelly, if you want to go.
Please go, Moya.
Oh
no, Christina, who's asking this? Oh, Christina, go for it.
Oh, okay. So I actually can answer both of those. So first, my roommate from freshman year, and I'm also going to be living with her next year, she was in a different scholars program. She was in the Justice and Legal Thought program. But as long as you guys request each other, then you can live with people who are not in your same program. And to answer Sophia's question, another one of my friends who is in media is living with someone or lived with someone their freshman year who was not in Scholars. All you have to do is through the housing portal, when it's time for housing, just request each other and you guys will most likely get that request.
Yeah, so I do want to add the caveat that you added at the end there, Nina, and that is most likely. So if you go through the housing portal and request somebody else and they request you back, then that will be listed as your preference. However, there are some limitations to housing, and so housing will do what they can to honor those requests, but ultimately it is a request, and it might not be possible to honor that. Does anyone in the central staff have something else they want to add about housing?
No, I think, oh.
Sorry, Mary Lee.
Or no, go ahead, Moya.
Sorry about that. Yeah, so this is a question that we've been getting recently, and we just want to encourage students to really consider looking at rooming with someone in your Scholars program, because Department of Res Life does manage this process, and it's becoming increasingly challenging to honor roommate requests, especially for requests of non-Scholars students in Scholars housing. So again, we really want to encourage students to consider and maybe plan to participate in the housing portal process, where you are able to match with students who are in your Scholars program.
Great, thanks, Moya. And Moya is a member of the Scholars Central staff. I don't know if we had the opportunity to introduce her earlier.
Thanks, Kelly. Hi, everyone.
I see a question that I could probably answer because I kind of caused it. Arturo asked, is Maryland Night Live a part of this program or a separate club or activity? I probably should have specified, no, it's completely separate. That's just something that I was a part of. But Maryland Night Live is a completely separate, it's its own thing, not related to Scholars at all.
And that's a great question. I mean, one of the benefits of being at a large school like Maryland is that, and we touched on this earlier, but the wide variety of clubs and other student organizations that you can be a part of at Maryland. So if you're interested in something, it pretty much already exists, or you can probably very easily find a few other people who are also interested in it, and you can go ahead and create that club as well. So there's lots of things to do on campus. All right, what else do we have in the chat?
There aren't any more questions about like Scholars related things, but I'm encouraging people to ask about like college life or student life. One of the questions that we got asked a lot during the last open house that I attended was kind of more about like balancing Scholars with like extracurriculars, and if it was hard, a lot of the students kind of didn't know the time commitment. So maybe if you guys want to chat about like the time commitment that Scholars has been, or, you know, for you.
I'll open that up to the students. I think y'all are best able to answer that.
So personally for me, Scholars has not been really a heavy time commitment as compared to my extracurriculars and my other classes especially. It's honestly been just one of the better parts of my day whenever I go to my Scholars colloquium. And with that, it's almost a chance to, while still engaging in work and task and academics, it's almost sort of a break from those harder classes, like your math classes, your science classes. It's a great break in your day, and balancing that with extracurriculars and your other classes is really easy. At least it was for me.
Yeah, I agree. I think Nina said it best. It's not like this super rigorous in the sense that you're stressing over it, but it's really stimulating, and it gives you a chance to have like really engaging conversation and think critically about things that are going on in media and news, and kind of speak about things that you wouldn't necessarily speak about with just like people in your, you know, psychology lecture hall, you know, something like that. So I think it's really interesting that the break that Scholars gives you and to express yourself and learn about others.
Great. We're gonna still leave time for questions. We have about 5 minutes left in the call, so I just want to go through the last 2 slides that we have here, and then we'll go back to questions. If we can. My computer, like I said, is acting up. There we go. So just wrapping up, as a reminder, you probably already have this date on your mind, but May 1st is the final day for you to confirm your enrollment at Maryland, as well as to apply and be guaranteed housing and dining on campus. If you are interested and want some more information about Maryland as a whole, some more of that open house style information, you can go to the website here for information from your academic colleges, housing, dining, other student support. So that's the way, if you have a question from your academic major about what kinds of classes you would need to take, you can find some information there. And then we mentioned it earlier, but the overview of Scholars video, as well as a lot of other wonderful information, can be found on the Scholars website. So we highly recommend that you go to that site. And then finally, if you're interested in contacting us, and the primary thing I want to highlight here is if you are interested in talking one-on-one with another student, maybe about some of those things that Lauren was just mentioning, right? What's it like to be a student on campus? What's it like to live in College Park? What's the social scene? What's it like eating on campus, or sharing a bathroom with somebody, or what's the walk to the journalism school, or the computer science building from Cumberland Hall? The best way to go about doing that is to sign up to connect with one of our media students here. So go.umd.edu/mediaconnect is a quick Google form. You fill out your name and your email address, and we'll connect you one-on-one with another media student. That connection will be via email, but then from there you all can decide whether you want to email or Skype or Zoom or phone chat or Instagram connect. However you want to do that, it's up to you to have those connections, but we really want to make sure you have the opportunity to talk one-on-one with the student. We also have my email address and Allison's email address there. Our Instagram account, Allison does an amazing job of running a really cool Instagram account, so go ahead and follow us there. And then once again, the Scholars website, more open house website, and then if you have general Scholars questions, you can get a hold of the central staff at that email address there. So I just wanted to make sure that we hit this slide before people needed to back out. But are there any other questions, any other things that we want to talk about or address while we're on the call?
Yeah, so we have 2 more questions from the chat. So these are kind of rapid fire too, so that's good to end off. Josephine asks, what if you need to take a semester off or decide to study abroad for a semester? How would that affect your Scholars schedule?
That's a great question. Studying abroad is actually a part or something that we've built into one of the practicum options within Scholars. So depending in the first semester, your first year as a freshman, we do have those classes that we have students take in their first and the second semesters. That's a little bit more difficult to study abroad. So really the best opportunity to study abroad while you're in the College Park Scholars Program is in your sophomore second semester, your 4th semester, your sophomore spring. But we do work with people in order to make sure that they can have that full and rich experience. We also have a lot of students that do summer study abroad and winter study abroad opportunities as well.
And then Jules asks, I guess it's more for the students, did you find it easy to get involved and meet new people? So I guess, Nina, you can start.
Yeah, I can start. I found it very easy to get involved and meet new people. In terms of the new people aspect, I went into my Scholars program knowing absolutely no one except for a girl who I was pen pals with from Minnesota. So if that doesn't really answer the question for meeting new people, I don't know what does. I also, in Cumberland, as I said earlier, I lived with my friend who's in Justice and Legal Thought. So our entire floor was mixed between Justice and Legal Thought, international studies, public leadership, and media. So that also helped out. And I became really good friends with those people. I became really good friends with people in my Scholars. And in terms of getting involved, everything at UMD is advertised to you. Everywhere you can find a poster and find something to get involved in. And we also have an event called the First Look Fair, where at the beginning of fall semester, you will go and it debuts all the clubs and organizations on campus. And that is also very helpful to get involved.
Yeah, I would say that it's super easy to get involved as well. And it's not even like with just Scholars people or other scholars in other programs, scholars in our same program. There's people all across campus. It's so easy to get involved. We of course we don't know about the orientation situation, but how orientation was set up in my experience was I was able to attend orientation with people who were in my same major and people who were in my same Scholars program. So it was super specific and we all kind of bonded. And then when we came to campus, we all knew each other and we had chatted in the summer and stuff like that. So that was really fun. And then those connections kind of led to other connections and we're all still cool to this day. But starting the first weekend at school, I was able to like attend social events for like cultural organizations, things like that, to kind of branch out and meet different people all across campus, people in sophomores, juniors, seniors, all across in different, areas of campus as well. And so it was super easy to do that. Like Nina said, everything's advertised. I didn't have to hunt and search for things to get involved in. It was super easy from day one.
Yeah, kind of the same. I know one thing that's really helpful is that since you live with other scholars in Cumberland, it's really easy to connect with those people. I know my roommate was, we just did random selection, but my roommate was also in Media Scholars. We lived around a bunch of Media Scholars students as well as other people from other programs. So that's a really easy way to meet people. And then of course, like for the first look fair, I know when I went to the first look fair, I signed up for like maybe 10 clubs, and then from there, like narrowed it down and figured out what I actually wanted to do. So I think just like try to get involved as much as you can at the beginning, and then you can narrow down your interests. And it's really easy to meet new people like that.
All right, anything else?
No, that's about it.
Great. Well, thank you all so much for joining. It is 3:47, so we're ending just on time here. Like I said at the beginning, this has all been recorded, and we will be posting this onto the Scholars website. So if you missed something and you want to come back, or you loved watching our faces and you want to relive this experience, you can go ahead and find that there. Otherwise, we definitely hope you have an amazing weekend, and we really, really hope to see you in the fall. We will see you either one way or another. But thank you so much for spending your afternoon with us today. And once again, it was great meeting you. Bye.